Rest assured that if Bob Mueller found a smidgen of evidence to suggest that Donald Trump obstructed justice, there would be a verdict. He left that open-ended simply to give the Democrats something to continue to chew on from now until 2020. Rev, it's kind of a bittersweet morning. It's a good day in that if you're a Trump supporter, there is vindication. There is a reason to celebrate, I guess, that the president that nobody thought could get elected, that a bunch of ragtags and deplorables got elected, stands tall this morning by not being indicted or found guilty of any serious charges. But it's more of a sad day to me. I mean, it's a terrible day for America because for 2 years, I did some research last night, 19 lawyers, 40 FBI agents, 2,800 subpoenas, 500 search warrants, 675 days, and no indictment. Now, obviously, we had personal transgressions from the 80s as it relates to Manafort. Roger Stone may or may not have done something in the mid-'90s in regards to his personal dealings and personal financial world. But, I mean, here's where we ended up. And I'll tell you what I'd do. I mean, if I were king of the world, I would let everybody associated with Donald Trump in this investigation out of jail right now. And I'd apologize on behalf of the American public. I would absolutely apologize to anybody who has been ensnared in this deeply troubling investigation that has gone on for 675 days because, the old analogy, fruit of the poison tree, none of this would have ever been found out. Obviously, Manafort's a sleazebag. Some of these, Roger Stone's probably a sleazebag. There is no law against being a sleazebag. They did some things that were illegal back in the 80s. And I keep going back, and I hate to harp on this, but if you're okay living in a country that allows these sorts of things to happen, then you see a version of America that I find deeply troubling. And it's a good day for Trump. It's a good day for the Trump campaign. It's a good day for the Trump orbit. But to me, it's a bad day for America because you have seen up close and personal to what extreme and extent professional Washington will go to rebuke what the average American perceives as someone worthy of running the country. I mean, in essence, that's the commentary. That's the takeaway here. There are a group of self-appointed masters of the universe who believe this country belongs to them. And they are entitled beyond belief in telling you and I and everybody else who is worthy of running the empire or not. And we, the American public, chose somebody that they perceive to be unfit, they perceive to be unclean, they perceive to be unsavory. And when you made that decision, there was a full court press to invalidate that very decision that you made. You are indeed deplorable. You are indeed an unfit voter. You are a lot of things in their world, and they put the most extreme full court press imaginable, and Bob Mueller could not get it across the finish line. And you can bet your sweet behind that Bob Mueller was doing everything he could to get it across the finish line because he's one of them. It's as simple as that. He's one of them. And if you're somebody listening to this show this morning who believes that Donald Trump is some way, somehow a legitimate threat to the very democracy that we have and admire and pay close respect to, then you're misguided. You're terribly misinformed. Today is a day that we should all be worried beyond belief about the energy and effort that was put forth to try and rid this country of its duly elected American president, no matter how much you may not have liked the outcome. And but we started down this road 275 days ago with the beginning of an investigation. I don't know who believed for a second that there was some guy named Vladimir running around Ohio, Pennsylvania, maybe stuck his head in the door in Wisconsin and Michigan. I heard there were some Russians at the Packers game in Wisconsin passing out flyers and leaflets. It was bizarre. It was unfounded. It was unfathomable. But the media continued to feed the beast. And they continue to go down the road of trying to trick. That's right, not convince, trick the American public into believing that there was collusion, there was obstruction of justice. And we heard, I think of some calls we've had on this show, very pointed. Trump's going down, his family's going down, there'll be jail time. None of it was, all of it was unfounded. None of it was ever corroborated. And as proud as I am today as a Trump supporter to say blank to you, I'm deeply troubled by the way this country has allowed the accepting of this political theatrics.
Will there be any accountability?
No, absolutely not. No, you can forget that.
There should be.
No, of course there should be. I mean, yeah, Roger Stone will be held accountable because he's associated with Trump. Bob Manafort will stay in jail because he's associated with Trump. It's unbelievable to me how we've allowed ourselves to get to a place where these people do whatever they choose to do and get away with it. And there will be no consequence to anybody who did anything. I'll tell you this, and I think I've said this on the air before. I'm convinced there was collusion with Russia. And I'm convinced the people that probably colluded with Russia were all Democrats. They were all associated and affiliated with the Hillary Clinton campaign. They're the ones that funded the dossier, the Chris Steele paperwork. I believe, and I may regret saying this, and forgive me if it's disrespectful, I think John McCain was very part of this charade, this farce. I think McCain really stepped in the gap and became kind of a conduit from the Democrats to the mainstream Republicans because Republicans were in charge of the administrative function of government because Donald Trump was the president. It's a Trump AG. It's a Trump DO. Well, I mean, it's not a Trump DOJ because you got careerists who are embedded in some of those entities and enterprises. But there's so many people with fingerprints on this. And you're right, Rev, there should be some accountability. There should be some heads rolling in Washington, but there will not be. Now the person or the group of people who take the biggest hit, in my humble opinion, is the media. I think the media's done. I mean, I think to you and I, the media's always been semi-done. It's a little bit entertainment. I mean, we watch them just to kind of sort of see how outlandish their charges or how absurd their insinuations can be. But, I mean, they took it on the chin. I mean, you know, they pitched this narrative and pitched this story day after day after day after day. I've got kind of a montage. And I thought about this. I thought about putting together, I mean, baseball season starts, is it next week or the
Thursday.
week after?
It's Thursday.
Okay, Thursday, this week. I thought about putting together the collusion all-star team. You know, who would be the all collusion shortstop? Who would be the all-star, catcher? Who would be the collusion center fielder? And maybe that's maybe we let our listeners kind of help us with that. Who are the collusion all-stars through this? And I'm not talking about the Rachel Maddows of the world. I'm talking about people who actually ran government agencies like John Brennan. It's unbelievable.
Comey and Brennan, Clapper.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I mean, I would expect Maddow to do it because she's got marching orders. I mean, she's got a viewership. She's got a listening audience that wanted Donald Trump gone, so she had to give him the Kool-Aid every night. I mean, that's her job. Whether she believes it or not, she likes the hefty paycheck she receives. And then you got Wolf Blitzer and Anderson Cooper. I
think Maddow cried on Friday night.
She did. I mean, she was visibly upset. I would say her mascara was running down her cheeks, but I don't think the man lady wears mascara, to be honest with you.
I knew you were going.
Well, I mean, when a chick tries to look like a dude, she doesn't wear a lot of makeup. So I'm not trying to be ugly. I mean, I think she would wear that with a badge of honor.
Maybe so.
I mean, she would say, I think she would pound the desk and say, "You damn right I don't wear makeup. You Southern man, you. You think every woman wears makeup and tries to be attractive? Check me out. Look at this haircut."
She's not going to try.
Look at this haircut. I carried a picture of Billy Idol with me to the salon and said, "Can you cut my hair just like Billy Idol's?" And they did. But I don't blame the Mika Brzezinskis and the Joe Scarboroughs and the Rachel Maddows and the Wolf Blitzer. I mean, that's their job. I mean, their job is to just sensationalize and create hyperbole and gin up the base and just convince the American public, that faction of the American public, that Donald Trump did indeed collude and obstructed justice and all these other sorts of things. I'm talking about John Brennan, Douglas Brinkley, one of the most respected presidential historians, sold his soul. I mean, he was on the team. I mean, Brinkley had a fairly decent reputation about speaking and writing on American presidents. And I read something, I went back and read, The Federalist had a kind of a hit list. It's always like the American Top 40 of Casey Kasem. Here are the 40 best things said during the Trump administration. Presidential historian and C became a CNN commentator. And see, Rev, that's okay. I'm a presidential historian, but sometimes that's hard to make money at. So I need to be a CNN commentator. So he gets a paycheck and signs a gig at CNN. He becomes a commentator. Next thing you know, one of the most respected presidential historians of mine and your generation says, the spirit of what Trump did is clearly treasonous. Based on what, man? I mean, based on what? And then you've got a Watergate prosecutor, Nick Ackerman. That's outright treason. He says that one night on CNN. So I'm talking about people who have a career, a fairly well-regarded career, and have been respected in whatever field of operations they were in American politics. And, once again, I mean, Mika Brzezinski saying, I laugh when I say this, that she felt the Trump team was going to jail for the rest of their lives. There's going to be a Trump wing at Alcatraz. And these guys and
that's just wishful thinking from her part.
But that's the media. And I think the media showed you clearly it's not just a wink and a nod any longer. I mean, they are the propaganda arm for the Democrat Party and the anti-Trump movement. Because in essence, that's kind of what the Democrats have become, because you can't sell socialism to enough Americans. You can sell socialism to a certain segment of America, but you can't sell socialism to enough Americans to become, the majority party. You can sell this anti-Trump sentiment combined with socialism and kind of consolidate a faction and create I don't know about a majority, but a fairly substantial plurality. I mean, John Brennan. I mean, if John Brennan has any credibility with anybody in America today, shame on you. I mean, if you're an American who takes anything John Brennan says seriously today, and this guy was a former CIA director. I mean, this guy didn't wake up one day on television. This guy was in charge of the Central Intelligence Agency.
That should tell you something.
It absolutely should tell you something. And that's why it's a sad day in America. It's a good day for Donald Trump. It's a good day for the deplorables. It's a good day for those of us who want to, upset the apple cart and break even more dishes. It's a bad day if you believe in the honesty and integrity of American government, because you have seen up close and personal the attempted coup of somebody the American people elected that Washington saw unfit. And to what extreme, it isn't over. I mean, Mueller left that open-ended question there for one reason and one reason only, and that is for the 2020 elections. He knew that this would be a successful day for Trump, and that's why he left it the open-ended question. I'm like Dershowitz. I mean, I don't know if you saw that or not, but Professor Alan Dershowitz said, he copped out. I mean, he chickened out. He didn't say yes or no. I mean, if you spent 675 days, had 19 lawyers, 40 FBI agents, and you can't make a determination as to whether. Now, he would argue that Trump would not sit down and answer questions. It's pretty obvious all you're up to is a perjury trap. I mean, in essence, the majority of people who have gotten in trouble in this investigation have gotten in trouble doing what? Misleading or lying to FBI agents. That's why you never, ever, 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 ever speak to an FBI agent. Never. Never. Let me say that one more time for clarity.
Be very clear.
Never speak to an FBI agent. Their job is to get you to commit
Well,
perjury.
am I missing something? Because when I was reading the conclusions yesterday, they left the open-ended question about obstruction. But if there was no underlying collusion, then how does obstruction even work into this scenario?
It's not open-ended. There was no obstruction. He left it open-ended. He punted so the conversation could continue, and Nadler and Schiff and Pelosi and Schumer could continue to play politics with it. If Trump had come out today and said, look, there is no obstruction, there was no collusion, and Bob Mueller said it, you got to remind yourself of this now. Nobody has seen the Mueller report. All the reporting and all the opinion giving is based on the Barr account, basically the summary, the AG summary of the Mueller report. There will probably be a day in 30 or 45 days that we begin to read snippets of the actual report. But all the pontificating today, myself included, is based on the Barr report, the Barr summary of the Mueller report. Now, I mean, an attorney general can't take creative liberties with the report. He's got an obligation, responsibility to accurately and honestly report to the American public what the report said. But in essence, we're not giving opinion this morning on the Mueller report. We're giving opinion this morning on the Barr summary of the Mueller report. And I'm like Alan Dershowitz. I just think that if you spend that long, that much money, that much time, just tell us, did he obstruct justice or not?